Stock up on Georgia's repeat national championship as we see Kansas lose in the NCAA tournament. I know it's two different sports. The postseason model is totally different, but it's just that essence of college teams trying to repeat as national champions. And this Kansas team wasn't the same one as last year. And Georgia's team, in a lot of ways, got better on offense and improved some things, even though they took somewhat of a step back on defense. It just goes to show how difficult it is to repeat as national champs. And it gives Georgia fans every reason to sit there and appreciate what they did, because it's difficult, man. And you cannot do it. You cannot take it for granted. And I know this offseason hasn't been the best, hasn't given us the most time to appreciate it. But just seeing Kansas fall this week in a crazy NCAA tournament reminded me of what Georgia did and made me appreciate it a little bit more.
First team to ever do it in college football with any sort of playoff. So that, I mean, and,
yeah,
you know, at one point you could have said, all right, so what? You win back-to-back titles. You didn't have to play in a tournament. Well, Georgia played in a 4-man tournament 2 years in a row and won it all. So it's the landscape has changed. Georgia made history, and we'll see if they can do it 3 in a row. That'd be something pretty crazy.
Jake, do you think that makes it easier or harder, the fact that there's a playoff?
I think harder for sure. You got to beat 2 elite teams to win it all, rather than just one.
But you don't have to be one of the top 2 teams to get in. You know what I mean there? I mean, like Georgia 21 team would not have made it into a BCS format.
I mean, fine. but I still think it makes it harder. I mean, it's easier to get a chance, slightly easier to get a chance. I still think it makes it tougher to win it.
Yeah, I mean, I think
just creating discussion here.
Yeah, I got you.
No, I mean, as it expands,
I'm not gonna fight you, not today.
As it expands, I certainly think it's going to be tougher. I mean, you're going to have more wear and tear. You're going to have teams that do get an upset and maybe go on a little bit of a run that you don't expect them to. I think with the transfer portal, certainly you're going to have some teams in there that you don't expect to do much, but they've got maybe a sneakier, better roster than you think they do.
I would agree.
Stocks, anybody?
Yeah, I'm going to go stock on Todd Hartley. Matthew C. brought him up a minute ago. I mean, I don't think anybody's going to come get this cat and turn him into a play caller or anything like that to steal him away from Georgia. But they better bring the cash if they do, because Georgia's got a tight ends coach making $850,000 a year. Think about that. That's $300,000 more than Mike Bobo was making as offensive coordinator when he left Georgia the first time. Just outrageous. He's recruited so incredibly well. Now listen, I think it's worth noting that he primarily recruits that tight end position, and that's fine. That's what, you know, when he's doing it the way he's doing it in that position means what it means. I think that's a big part of it. But there was a time when he was involved heavily in the recruitment of Carson Beck and kind of getting him to, after he had decommitted from Alabama, to not go to Florida and come to Georgia. But Todd Hartley, man, is a big time recruiter. He's a guy, and listen, Georgia fans can deny this if they want, okay? But there were a lot of them being like, I don't want that Mark Richt Dross anywhere near this program. Okay? They said it. Now, you can say you didn't, but you did. And I'm not calling out names, but there were plenty who did it. And boy, were they wrong.
I think Palmer said it.
Yeah, Palmer. Palmer was all in on that take.
Old intern Palmer definitely had that take. that didn't
clean house.
That didn't watch much Mark Richt era Georgia football. Yeah, that guy had that take. No, I'll go stock up here on Sedrick Van Pran, and I know. If you go watch his interview with us on Thursday, it got tough for him because obviously the emotions that have gone into this offseason and the emotional time that it was when he was making the decision on whether to return to Georgia, not return and head pro. But I think when you listen to his teammates, his current teammates, his former teammates, talk about him and what he means, he's a leader. He is, as Zion Logue described, exactly what this Georgia team needed in 2023. I think with this offseason especially, they need leadership with as many players as they've got returning, from a national championship winning team. They need leadership that'll make sure that they, are, and obviously Kirby's going to do this, but they need player leadership that's going to make sure that they're not complacent, just winning last year's title, that they know, hey, this team 2023 has not won anything, that it's been, as he said, it's been inherited. And so, I think it's huge. I talked about it when he returned. I couldn't tell you the last time, and maybe it's not that long, and maybe I just am not thinking that hard about it, but when was the last time Georgia brought back a captain from its previous team? Probably not that often that you end up bringing back a captain, because a lot of times those are guys that are going pro or guys that are seniors.
It's a great point.
So, I think to bring back somebody like that, that's already an established leader, that is already has the respect of everybody on that team, to further that in another year, I think it's huge for Georgia. Not only on the football field, is it big to bring back a talented player like him, somebody that's going to make that transition of quarterbacks easier because he's in the middle right there with them, making a lot of those calls, making a lot of those IDs. That's probably, I know tackle gets talked about as the most important position on the offensive line, highest paid position on the offensive line. I think center is the hardest position on the offensive line because of the knowledge that it takes. And you're not just out there blocking and pass pro and run block. You got to snap the football too. And that's not easy, especially when you got the big guys across from you. So to bring back somebody like that on the field, but off the field as well, stock up on Sedrick Van Pran.
Good stuff. Yeah, I can only imagine just the weight he's got on his shoulders this season with the emotional toll it took on him to lose his teammate. But he chose to come back, and now he, really has this, I guess it's a weight, but it's kind of like a responsibility to honor his friend, honor his teammate. And he knows a lot of people are going to be looking at him. He knows a lot of people are going to be watching him to see how he's handling it. How is he attacking this season? And I can't imagine, man. I can't imagine what he's thinking this year.
All right. I'm going stock up tonight on Francis Brown, Georgia's cornerbacks coach. Tremendous job he's done since arriving. Pulls in another one with DeMello Jones. Like I said, a guy that they really wanted. Also has, don't forget, the #1 cornerback in the class of 2024 already committed to the Bulldogs. And then you go back and look at last year's class, guys that they really loved and coveted throughout. Chris Peel comes to mind. You talk about closing out with Daniel Harris as well. Just a fantastic job since that guy has gotten to Athens. Learning from a great one, too, and Will Muschamp. But I think sky's the limit for Fran Brown. He's another guy that Georgia's going to have to fight to keep over the next couple of years, because I think a lot of schools are going to come calling for a young guy like him with his recruiting acumen and his development. Just not a lot of guys like that growing on trees, man. So shout out to Fran Brown, a tremendous, tremendous start to his 2024 cycle. And I think it can only get better.
Yeah, I like calling him Francis. That was a nice touch.